Hey, it's Lisa with Artful Fairy Designs, and today I'm going to show you how we're going to paint our gnome for Christmas ornament. I'll give you a few tips and tricks and show you what it's like to use some of our pop-out pieces. So you can use the pieces inside the frame and go ahead and paint them in there, or you can pop them out and paint them separately and then put them on your ornament. We're going to do that just because this way you can know where each piece goes. All right, so I'm going to pop all those out. And sometimes if they get stuck, if you have a little something you can poke them out with, there you go. That makes that easy. And we don't need that. We'll just get rid of that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is take my pieces and I want to see where they go. So I will just set them on there. And what you see here, these are score lines, and they're to help you to know where every piece goes. You do not have to paint inside of these. It's just merely just so that you know where to set them. I just realized I'm missing my little snowflakes. Okay, so this is where you're going to put that, and why it's good sometimes to punch them out so that you know where they go and you know what they are. That's his nose, and then that goes on his hat. Okay, so now that we know what it is, I've already got the colors already taken care of up here, and I can list the colors down below. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to do the back of this, and I'm going to do that a gray. I use these makeup sponges over paintbrushes. They work a lot easier for me. You can dab them. A paintbrush, sometimes you don't want to get into the scoring over here. This you don't want to get into. So it's easier to dab so that you don't get all that paint in there. So the secret to really doing a lot of that is to take a little teeny bit of paint and really dab it off. Really, really, really dab it off. Okay, so there's just a little bit on there. And then you just want to put it on. It'll be a very, very light coat. And that's okay. That's what you want. You want a light coat because you're trying to avoid, especially when you get down here into the engraving, that you don't fill that up with paint. If you do happen to fill that with paint, that's what a toothpick is great for. You just use that. I'll show you how to do that. If you got it in there and it was too much, you would take a toothpick and just go ahead and just clean that right out. So a toothpick is your friend. If you have makeup sponges, those are your friends as well. Okay, so I'm just going to do this really quickly. Now notice I'm avoiding that one section because I don't need to paint that. And it's okay over the snowflakes because I do have snowflakes, which I just realized just before I got on here that I didn't have them cut in here. So we're going to have to do that as a secondary thing. Let me just get this first one done. Okay, so we're going to get our ornament done. And a couple of coats is better than a real heavy, heavy coat. First, it takes a lot of time to dry, and it just makes the project look a little bit heavier than it should. Okay, so we're going to do that. That's our first coat. We're going to let that sit and move it over here. Okay, so this is actually his shirt, which we're going to paint green. Here's a tip for you too. If you have a lot of little pieces, you can take a piece of painter's tape and flip it over with the sticky side up and put your two ends, just attach them down to your table. And you can then stick your pieces on there so that they don't move around. You don't have to hold them. These are big enough and there's not too many of them, so I won't worry about it. But this is his shirt, and you're going to see that his beard is going to go here. So you don't really have to paint the whole thing. If you want to, certainly you can. But I'm just going to paint right over here. Sometimes I will paint it just because sometimes I'll miss a little section. You know, like when you go to put it back on, you might miss this little section in here by not doing it all the way. So I'm just going to go ahead and just paint that. I'm painting over the heart because we're going to glue the other heart right on there. All right, I really like sponge painting over using a paintbrush. On bigger sections, it's probably better to use a paintbrush, but okay. So there's his shirt. All right, we'll let that dry and then we'll do another coat of something else. Let's try this one. That's his beard. Let's put this here. Okay, give me another one for his beard. checking to make sure I got the front. So you can usually tell if the piece is a front or back by sometimes there'll be little score, you'll see some little laser marks on the back. So that'll give you a good indication if you're not sure what's the front and what's the back. Most designs you can almost just, if you do the other side, it's not a big deal. Like if you switch this around, it would be fine. Okay. All right, so I'm painting his beard. All right, we'll just do that quick with some white. All right, we'll get that over here to dry. Now the heart is small, and for me, I'm going to figure out which way, it doesn't matter. I'm going to use just a paint marker on that because I find it's easier for me to do that than to try to dab it with paint since I don't have anything to hold on to. Okay. Then we have our hat, which goes this way, and his nose. Let me get this. Okay, so his nose is real simple, just like a face color kind of a thing. Oops, there we go. Okay, so there's his skin tone is the word I was looking for. All right, and we're just going to paint this, and I'm going to use the same green. You could use a different green, but then you'll see I'm going to highlight it a little bit. So those are the score marks, and those are okay if you, again, you don't want to cover them because we want to make sure you can see them. I have a lot of red here. Okay, and this too would probably be a good place to use a paint pen just because it's so small. That's okay. We'll just hit it with this. Okay. So we're letting all that dry, and then we have to do his hat, and that's going to be red as well. That's easy enough to do. And like I said, once we get all these pieces done and they dry and we get them together, then we'll add a few little touches. Okay, so those are all your pieces. They're all painted, and I'll check to see how our gray is. We'll go back to that one. So I'm going to do some touch-ups, and I'm going to go through and put some second coats on, and then we'll come back and put it together. Okay, we are back, and magically, oh my gosh, 3 little snowflakes showed up. So we are all set with everything that we need to do this. Okay, so now I've put a second coat on everything, and now it's time to glue. I find a toothpick works the best because it's small, it's easy to not get a lot of globby stuff on there, and you don't put too much glue. You can use different kinds of glue. A super glue is also a possibility. I personally like Aleene's tacky glue. You could also use a wood glue just because I find it's thick, which I like. You don't need a whole lot, which I like. And I find that it just works the best. And that's what I prefer. But you can do whatever you want to with the glue. Just hot glue is usually not my preference for most of these ornaments because especially like this, it'll get right underneath there and ooze out. So you really want something you can just put on the back. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to put back on here is I'm going to put on his shirt. I'm just going to get some glue on here. Let's see what I got here. Okay, so I'm just going to put some glue on there and we'll stick his shirt on. And those score lines are so great for making sure everything lines up. And of course, I got glue on the end somehow. Okay, so we put that there. There we go. All right. The one thing about using a tacky glue as opposed to using like a super glue is that things will move. They don't set immediately. So you just need to be a little careful, I guess, just to make sure that things don't shift around because I've had that happen where I don't notice it and then something is kind of way off. So, all right, I'm just going to put a little glue on here and glue the hat down. Yeah, see that moved over. There we go. That's perfect. Okay, and then we'll do that. So I was playing around to see how well it would look, and I'll show you what I was going to do with that. I've done it before where you want it to look like maybe there's, the hair, you want to give it some three-dimensional look. So I'll show you what I did with that. Okay, we're getting this right up here. And so it's good that we painted the whole thing, just because chances are the green, I probably would have missed something. So I have to get up here to see what I'm doing. There we go. Okay. Still good? Yep. I love that color. Like I said, I will put the colors underneath there so you can see what they are. All right. If you're still watching, thank you so much. I find this to be very relaxing for the most part when everything works the way it's supposed to. And you have all the things that you need. You know, my hands get gluey. Okay, what else do we have to glue? Okay, we're going to do our snowflakes. I find if I just tap a little glue on there, some people also, you could take your glue and put it out flat, and then you could kind of just dip it in there for some of your pieces. But I find if I do this, it helps so that it's not, doesn't make such a mess. Okay, I'm going to think that one goes here. The contrast with the gray is really nice. I like that a lot. The gray in the back, you can always, you know, do anything you like. You don't have to copy or follow, however you want to say it. You don't have to do exactly the same as this. But I am, sometimes it's easier. Sometimes I find I just want to, I want to get something done. And if someone has taken the work out of that part of it, and I like it, then I'll just do the same color scheme. So, but then other times I'll go rogue. Okay. So there's that. And we just have to get his nose on here. And we're just about done with this stuff here. Okay. All right. And then we will add a little bit of some things to his hat, which actually, let me do that before I put this on there. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my white marker. You can use marker. You can use, what else do I have? These sticks. Let me show you what these are. These are distressing crayons. You can use those to add a little bit of something around the edges. There's a lot more to that. I'm not going to show you right in this video, but I mean, if you're fine with this, you can just keep it like this. Personally, I like a little bit of something to it to give it a little bit of dimension. So we can do multiple different things here. I think I'm going to put some dots in the back. Let me get my marker all set here. And I like dots. Dots are fun. I like dots. Okay. So when dotting, I kind of do it just staggered. And you could have done it, I could have done it before I put these in here, but that's okay. That works. And you just don't have to go crazy, or you could go whatever you want to do. But it's nice. It gives it something. Sometimes you need a little extra, right? So that was simple. Not a big deal at all. I got to put one there. Not a big deal at all to just put those on there. And then I feel like the hat needs a little bit of something too. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to take this. I take my marker, and if you're using a brush or whatever, you could do the same thing. And I just go along a little bit on the outside edge. Not all the way down, just most of the way over here. And then I'll come around and I'll do the same thing down here on the other side. And then if you really want to get a little bit fancier, you can do 1, 2, 3 little dots are usually cute. And I'll do 3 dots up here. Okay, so you can do the 3 little dots. Again, it just adds a little bit of something to it, which is fun. All right, then same thing with the heart. I'm just going to give a little bit of some white here. And then on the shirt, I'm just going to come down here. My marker doesn't want to give me what I want to do. So we'll just leave that there for now. And I'm just going to put a little bit along the side here. Okay, so that just added a little bit of dimension, gave it a little bit of pizzazz, and finished it off. All right, so then we have his, what is that called? Okay, you know what it's called. So we have this too, it'll come to me. And we're going to put this, which way? I'm going to put it like that. I love the color combination. I know, not ivy. Oh, brother, it'll come to me. But if you know what it is, you know what it is. Okay, so same thing with this. So I'm just going to take my marker and I'm going to just put a little bit on the edges. And that's a trick, but you play around with it. You can go up the middle with this a little bit, just like that, to go up the middle. And then I'm going to put just a teeny dot in each one of the berries. And there you go. That is it. Simple and easy. Not anything difficult at all to do. And you can change your colors or do whatever you want. But at least this gives you an idea of how to put it together and how to paint it. And I'll have some other instructional videos on how to paint some of our other ornaments, our DIY kits. So please feel free to like and share, and don't forget to subscribe so that this way you don't miss out on anything.